I mean, it just isn't. It just can't be effective, and that's where we find ourselves. So I am. I appreciated Senator Osmond saying publicly the need for new revenue, and I think I heard Jerry say the same thing just now. Was that a public statement?
Very softly.
Okay. I think I heard him concur. And the reality is that we cannot progress without significant new investment. I've said before that we'll never be first if we're always last. And as long as we refuse to invest in public education at the level that we need to, we will not make the progress. And it's not that we're just behind by a little bit. As you guys looked at this, I mean, from the national average, we're spending about, 55, 58% of the national average. I mean, that's just not going to work out. We might be unique, but we're not that unique.
Superintendent Shumley always has a hard time describing his, speaking his piece. I think the challenge in education really, and not being an educator and not being a politician, being a private sector guy, can be summed up succinctly in just the everyday life of people in business, the everyday life of society. The cancer term is, we've always done it this way. We've always done it this way suggests to us that the processes of the past are adequate for the processes of the future, that they will bring us the prosperity we want going forward. The reality is, to each and every person in this room, that's simply wrong. We can't live in the environment where we've always done it this way. And I would question each of you and challenge each of you to ask yourself a fundamental question. What have we done to change what we've always done in the past? And I would debate with anyone the merits that we haven't done a whole lot to change what we've always done. We govern ourselves the same way. We point fingers the same way. We haven't fundamentally or systemically changed anything. Now, the elephant in the room from a CEO's perspective is human capital. Public education particularly is one of the largest human capital endeavors in Utah. Now, the governor would stand here before you and give you a speech about L3 Communications and about Adobe and about they will only stay here, Jeff Edwards, for as long as we can deliver them a quality workforce. Well, when are we going to fundamentally ask ourselves the question, as community leaders, as business leaders, as citizens, where is the workforce for public education going to come from in the future? Because that opening statement, we've always done it this way, is my generation telling this younger generation that what worked for me will work for you, and they don't believe that. We do not have a robust pipeline of people standing up in high school today suggesting, I'm going to be an educator. They don't look at it the way my generation used to look at it. They want a career pathway. They want a partner who's going to invest in their future development. Education does not stop in college. It continues. Most good companies in this world know that. We invest millions of dollars in education within the framework of our companies that goes well beyond their traditional college education. And they want to be compensated. They want to raise families, they want homes, they want cars, they want children. Those things cost money. So we need to start getting our arms around two fundamental things. Where is the future workforce in education going to come from? Just not in public education, but in education as a whole. And secondly, are the processes of the past good enough? I would suggest to you that our form of representative government, 75 members of the House, 29 members of the Senate, the system was never built to deliver a unified education plan at a statewide level. Because they're not statewide elected officers. They represent districts and areas, and their interests are isolated to areas and districts, not to the whole. And until we deliver a unified system and a unified way of looking at education, bring the legislature together in their capacity to deliver good thinking, bring education together to deliver their capacity as subject matter experts of what we need to do, and bring the business community into the discussion of how we innovate and do things that create outcomes for our kids, we will ultimately fail. That's where we are in education today.
A couple of questions, and I'll be glad to come back to the audience. I've heard Governor Walker, and we actually thought she was going to be here and had some health issues. I heard Governor Walker in the last little while say that we've had 44 tax cuts in the past 20 plus years. Part of that was the lowering of the property tax, the state levy property tax, but 44 tax cuts. I can tell you the last 5 years we've lowered taxes by $500 million, and that's a noted economist has done that work and tells us with the flat tax on income tax and the sales tax off food, we took $500 million out of the system. So I'm going to ask the panelists, what is the move of the state to provide more funding to education? What is the move about going out and saying we need to get additional money, additional resources? And Prosperity 2020, to their credit, has even put in their brochure some ways to do it. Maybe I'll start with you, Mark, and go reversal.
Well, I got to stick to my roots about being an executive in a private business. I don't think the fundamental question of I think funding is an issue and it needs to be on the table, but I think we have to have a check and balance too. And what are we funding, and what kind of outcomes are we trying to get to? Certainly, I have an opinion that public education has been somewhat starved. I would also argue at the same level, though higher education in some respects has even been hit more severe, especially in the last several years. I think the issue comes down to fundamental thinking and planning of how you create outcomes and create transparency to invest dollars to create that return on investment. And the bottom line is, until we have a unified plan that tells us where we are and where we're going and what it costs us to get there, it's difficult for the legislature to just blindly invest dollars into things that don't have absolute transparency and absolute ways of measuring things. There is an absolute way of doing that. And I think that, the legislature itself, in my humble opinion, should be spending time starting to think creatively of how we are going to fund education in a new and unique way that's sustainable. One of the challenges we have in government in Utah, candidly, and it relates to education, is it's a tactical business. We balance the budget this year, we don't have to think till next year. In my business, I have to think 5 and 10 years out where my capital is concerned. How I'm issuing debt, how I'm raising equity, and how I'm running my business. We have to turn education on its head and look at it out 10 years. If Governor Huntsman would have known that it would have cost us $4 billion over the next 10 years to do what we need to do in education, he wouldn't have cut income tax from 7 to 5. Because that tax cut alone has taken $1.7 billion out of public education in the last 4 years. CEOs don't make those decisions when they have the facts in front of them. The problem is, we don't have the facts in front of us. And we need to understand that in order to make good fiscal policy. Right now, we're just reacting and maintaining the status quo.
I can buy that.
So I think there are lots of discussions about what needs to change in public education, and whether it's governance or technology or any number of things. Smaller school districts, getting rid of the Common Core. Why would I say that? Actually, I was in Provo and I saw a United Nations jet parked on the tarmac there, and I was with board member Mark Openshaw, and I said, "Get your picture taken there and send it to these crazy people." That'll tell, they're here checking on our implementation of Common Core. Anyway, actually, I don't know why they're here, but anyway. Let me just say that there are lots of things that we could look at in public education, but I see so many things brought up that to me are distractors. You know, the idea of whether the state board should appoint the state superintendent or the legislature or the governor or so forth. I think that's a distraction. In fact, I find myself wondering if the people who are sponsoring those ideas are just cynical in introducing that stuff to keep from focusing on the important issues. Anyone who thinks that we're going to improve student outcomes if we'll just put the governor in charge of public education, I mean, that's just nutty. It might maybe it would be a good idea, but that's not the lever. The lever that's positioned where we can move things is to improve the quality of instruction. So if somebody said to me, how are you going to spend $500 million? I'm going to be very tactical and strategic, both in investing that in ways to improve the quality of instruction, to attract the workforce that we need, and to ensure that they have the environment and the tools they need. For that money that we're spending, we're not buying, actually we don't buy any student achievement. I mean, that's an important outcome for us. But what we buy that creates student achievement is high quality teaching in a classroom. It actually turns out, Louise, that the big measurement issue, that's the thing we don't have any data on. Senator Osmond and I have talked about this at great length. It's so hard to convince the profession that we have to have data on student achievement or on high quality instruction. Evaluation produces stories, not data. If you ask a principal, is your instruction better in your school, Daryl, this year? Is it better this year than it was last year? You might say, God, I've been around, it feels better. But you don't have any data. So the other piece of that is convincing legislators that that's the right data, and convincing the entire profession that that's the right data. You know, it is the right data. If we want to improve outcomes in schools,